Welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea Podcast. I'm Danny Sheriff, your host, certified fertility awareness practitioner, functional nutrition counselor, and founder of the HA Society, and of course, an HA recovery coach who has walked where you currently are walking. This is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. So let's dive in. But last thing, nothing on the show should be taken as medical advice, so please seek the advice of your physician. Okay, so I have been talking a lot about the Restore program, the DIY program lately, but Ashley, Misha, and I just decided that last minute we want to relaunch the live group program version of Restore just because we are seeing a need in the community. We are launching the Restore Your Fertility program. Okay, so the difference with this one is that we are looking for a handful of women, five to 10 max, of women who are looking to recover to get pregnant. So specifically, your goal is recovery and fertility, and we're going to work with you for 10 straight weeks to get your period back and get you ready for conception, if not actually get you pregnant. So this is really our bread and butter. This is what we specialize in, and we know that if this is something that you really want to do, that getting pregnant, getting your period back is a top priority, you're absolutely going to make serious headway with this program. It's hybrid one-on-one and group, meaning you will have the exact answers to whatever you specifically need. We still provide you with a custom protocol. Basically, we take you through that process. As a group, this is really like our one-on-one coaching, but at scale, taking you through the process together versus just one at a time. So that basically means you get one-on-one coaching for a fraction of the price, and we take you over 10 weeks, and then you still get an entire year included of the HA Society for continued support and maintenance. So basically, you can't go wrong. We are yet to see a woman with amenorrhea, really be unable to recover. We just don't see it. It's not in the science. And in this process that we have done over and over again, we have seen women who seriously doubt their ability to succeed recover, like quickly. So if you are, talking your partner's ear off all of the time about this, and you need a different perspective and you need an expert opinion, this is definitely a program for you. And more so, if you feel like recovery is taking over your life, right? Like, oh my gosh, you think about it when you wake up, when you go to the bathroom, every time you have to eat. It's overwhelming. Should I try this? Should I try that? Let me Google this. This program is definitely going to be right for you because it's going to take out all of the questions. Over 10 weeks, 1 hour a week, you'll learn everything you need to know in order. And because there's that group element where you get to talk directly to us and communicate with us, you can really truly understand what applies to you and what doesn't, so that you can go and follow the plan and implement without questioning it constantly, without, bombarding your husband with like your fears and concerns. It's really designed to help take the stress out of this process, put you on track, and make sure that you feel completely comfortable with the process so that you can put it in the back burner, let it run on autopilot, and just live your life. So if you want in on this program, go to the hasociety.com/restore-June. That's restore-June. If you just go to the website, you'll see it in the navigation bar, and apply. And if you do have lab work for us to review, a part of the application process will be helping with diagnosis, making sure that You sort of have a second opinion and some information, and we can't legally diagnose, but we can certainly show you, based on the labs, like this is what we look at, this is how we identify it. So if confirmation and clarity about what you're working on is also a piece for you, I highly recommend that you consider our program. We cannot wait to hang out with you. It starts June 14th. And applications will close once we basically had all of the spots filled. So get in quick and we'll see you guys there. Okay, on with the show.
Okay, so welcome back. Sorry about that. To the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea Podcast. This is Ashley Smith, and I am here with Emily Glass. Y'all, she reached out to me through the DMs. It might have been to me or through the HA Society. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know who I am, guys. Like, I'm like, who am I today? No. And she shared her recovery story. And I was just like, I think it's one of those moments where I'm just like, today, not so much that it's a hard day, but sometimes when you're in like a coaching role, like kind of like teachers where you're like, I feel crazy. And then like someone shares something great and you're like, this is why I do what I do. Anyways, it was totally one of those moments. So I'm going to stop talking because y'all know that I could talk for days, and I'm going to hand it over to Emily and just kind of wherever you want to start. I know that. So y'all, what makes this really cool is that she's a member of the HA Society who recovered her cycle, but her story is kind of wild. So where do you think we should start? Like, okay, hold on. My favorite question to ask when starting this off is, clearly we know whenever we have HA, we're like, my cycle's been gone. But looking back, when do you think your HA habits started? Not so much when you lost your cycle, but you're like, yeah, these habits have been in my life for a really long time. And it only wasn't until X amount of years that I actually lost my cycle.
Absolutely. So hi, I'm Emily. That's a great question. So when I think back, all through high school, I never really thought too much about dieting, my body, or anything like that. I was always pretty secure in who I was. It wasn't until I went off to my undergraduate studies at university. I went to the States. I was a collegiate track and cross country runner. So in my first semester there, I quickly was kind of getting the vibe that the team, the coaches, just the whole vibe there was a little bit different. It was the first time I was introduced to low calories, and being as thin as you could get was going to make me the fastest, best runner, was going to get me all the compliments, all the praise. And so unfortunately, I kind of jumped on that wagon for a while. And it kind of started to spiral.
Yeah. Pause. I'm going to represent the listener. I already have a question. Do you feel like this was just something that like you picked up on because your other teammates were talking about it and were concerned? Or was it something from like a coach who had said something like, make sure you eat this instead? Or like, and this isn't to play the blame game. This is just to be aware of our surroundings. Like, where do you feel like you heard it first, or it was the most influential?
Yeah, for sure. So I already have so many memories when you ask that question. I think the very first one I have would have to be when I heard two teammates, and again, not the blame game, kind of talking about, oh, maybe we should skip breakfast this morning, and then we'll be taking in less calories and we'll start losing weight faster. And then I was like, I had in my mind, oh, that doesn't sound like, I don't want to skip breakfast. Like,
yeah, I love breakfast.
I know.
I love breakfast.
I could not imagine skipping breakfast, but that was kind of the first piece. And the second piece was one of a coach who I had such high thoughts about, was really high level, came into the job I was working at the time on campus, and I was eating nacho chips, again, one of my favorite things, and kind of said something like, oh, you shouldn't be having that. You know how dense those are, right? And so that kind of got me thinking, what did he mean by dense? Like, is that connected to those calories that I've been hearing about? And oh yeah, maybe these are unhealthy for me. So that was definitely the beginning.
Yeah. Okay. But hold on. So does that mean that you made it through high school with like a somewhat normal relationship with food? Okay, well, here's like the unicorn / chupacabra, you know what I mean? But okay, so like you're just like bebopping around with your life, going to college, you know, running track, and you're just kind of like have a normal relationship with food, and then almost like bombarded with like diet culture in an athletic space, basically.
Yeah, I would say so. In high school, I was just so involved in sport, extracurriculars. I had some really great supports all throughout, and never really came into contact with anything that severe in that sense.
Yeah. Okay. So like, I'm just love that we're just setting the stage, because I was like, hold on, did she make it through high school? Like,
lucky. I was lucky that way for sure.
Yeah. But it kind of shows that like, so the reason why I ask all these questions is because Danny will say this too. She'll be like, y'all, I didn't have any major trauma that led me down this path. My parents were normal. I don't know what to tell you. And I still fell for it too. And I think it's so important to share that, because I feel like sometimes we think that this only happens with people because of blank, 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 and blank. And it's like, actually, this can happen to anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So you're in college. I take it maybe you started to skip breakfast. Beloved breakfast? Is that what happened?
Oh man, as sad as it is to say, I'd say I only entirely skipped breakfast a couple times. It didn't last. It didn't last. But there were definitely some habits that started taking hold. I was running already twice a day. We were doing heavy lifting, already burning more energy than I ever had in my life.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even prepared for that. Like I just wasn't
So
fueling myself beforehand. So let alone all these other pieces that are now coming into play. I started eating quote unquote healthy vegetables, fruit, and taking out, you know, all the yummy stuff, the sugar.
Side note, you probably did need those nachos, considering how much you were running.
Yeah, I needed way more than just the nachos.
Yeah, you're like, girl, that's the least of everyone's words. So I also played D1 softball, and we had the track girls were like phenomenal. Those chicks were like beasts, right? I mean, they were just, well, plus like they were just like really good. Yeah, no, like we lifted in the morning. We had 2.5 hour practice and then extra. And like you, like I thought I needed a spin class.
Yeah.
But yes. Okay. So you were just burning so many calories. You're just kind of like a freshman in sports. Like your life has become sports, because that's what it is in college. You're just like, this is what I do. I actually don't get out of my training clothes because I'm about to go train again. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. And it kind of backfired for a while, in my eyes at that time, because then I started getting so hungry. That's all I could think about was food, of course. So I kind of ate everything I could. We had a 24-hour cafeteria, all you can eat buffet, basically. So I was like, well, there's all the food. And eventually I started eating more. I kind of set all those thoughts to the side for a while, and I gained some weight for sure. I gained quote unquote freshman 15, whatever it was called at the time. And that kind of put me back, because I started looking at myself in the mirror and noticing really quickly that I was gaining that weight. Yeah, so that kind of propelled everything forward. The summer after my first year, I started working out even harder, running faster, such a restrictive mindset about food. It was not good. And so I lost that summer a lot of weight. I went back to school, got so much praise for it. Oh my gosh, you look amazing. all of that. And me being, you know, the typical HAer, I guess.
Yeah.
Perfectionist. And
You're like, look at this. This is success. People are complimenting me. Like I haven't even gotten on the track yet and people are already complimenting me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I just kept going with it. I was like, continued to get compliments. I had a couple, you know, bits and pieces from family. My boyfriend, are you okay? You know, you're looking pretty thin. And even when I heard that, it was like, oh, they're even noticing that I'm thin. Like, this is good. I got to keep my body.
And he's like, that's not what I'm saying.
I
but
know.
you're so right. You're so right. I was just talking with the client today or earlier this week, and she goes, my family is even starting to mention that I've lost weight again, and it's not in a good way, but in some twisted way. I'm like, yay.
Yep. That's
you know
it.
what I mean?
Sure.
I truly actually think that losing weight is addictive. I don't know anybody that can like handle it in a mentally sane way. It's just, I think that they have habits and behaviors or put on a good face to where they're like, oh, look at it. They've got a great relationship as they count out their almonds.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean? Or, I mean, I feel like I was a master of convincing people that I didn't have any kind of disordered eating because I would eat a donut in front of them. You know what I mean? Not knowing the macro rearranging that it took to do that, right? Like all the egg whites, all the low fat yogurt. Like I legit developed allergies. Well, not allergies, food sensitivities because the quantities of egg whites that I would eat, because it's unnormal. It's not normal. Y'all, if you're eating like crushing like ounces, like massive ounces, like, I mean, you're like, I don't know, more than 4 ounces. I don't know. Someone's going to come at me for that, you know, but more than 4 ounces of egg whites multiple times a day, you could be doing a little too much.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So your family's getting kind of concerned. You're getting praised. You lost tons of weight over the summer. You know what I mean? And so now you're in your sophomore year, and how do you like, at what point do you lose your cycle, or you're like,
that's the question. So I was on the pill.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Of course. So I wasn't really able to pinpoint, but I can imagine
complexity.
I can imagine it was gone at that point. Like my true cycle would have been gone if I wasn't on the pill. No question at all. And so the sophomore year was actually my final year. I did a 3-year program, and COVID hit that same last year. So I've been training all year. It comes to track season, the start of 2020, and I get the news that our season's canceled. I have to head home to Canada, which is where I'm from. Back home without saying goodbye to so many of my friends because of COVID. It happened so quickly.
Yeah, it was like, leave now. Like, yeah.
So that just sent me into a crazy mindset. My mental health was already pretty low. And I was the thinnest I'd ever been. And I got home and I just continued. I worked out harder. I wasn't training for anything specific, but I wasn't able to grasp that transition from being an athlete, like a hardcore athlete, to not like just going back home.
So that's actually really common. I know just for like any college athletes or anybody who does extended, like whether they go and they play overseas for something or whatever, it's like, I've only been an athlete this entire time. I don't know who else to be. So I guess I'll just keep doing these things. You know what I mean? And so for you, like you were just training really hard, and plus the uncertainty of COVID, right? Because what was it like? Just stay home for 2 weeks. This will pass. And then it like didn't, and then it kind of carried on. So yeah. So walk me through that. So you go back home, like you mentioned, not in the greatest mindset, going into a pandemic, which it's very interesting. A lot of we have a lot of intake, and like, it really is like, well, there might've been some things, but then the pandemic hit and it really just like amplified everything.
For sure. Yeah. And I started seeing, the online workout videos really went through the roof, I think, that year.
Yes,
I
everyone
on that
went online.
train. I used that as an excuse to go harder. I was like, oh, all these home workouts, I can do this. And I would go hard all day on these home workouts. And
how many workouts would you do?
multiple a day sometimes, like up to 3 hours of just, hit and lifting and running and whatever it was. I just got in this really wild mindset. And it became addicting. Like you said, it really was addicting for me. Not to mention the food choices. It became seriously orthorexic beyond that. And from there, I went into after that summer into my master's program. It was in Canada.
Oh my gosh.
Back to school.
Yeah.
Plucked back out from my family, my supports, my boyfriend, into a completely new environment. Didn't know anyone there, new roommates. So that was just a whole other piece. The habits continued. Of course, I was still running. I joined the lacrosse team there because I felt like, I needed more to do, more athletic stuff to do.
Plus, I mean, to be honest, like, you didn't really get to finish your college career, like, competing, I mean, not saying that you should have been competing given how lean I'm sure you got and under eating that you were, right? Because that would have actually been really interesting to see what does performance wise look like. But then but like, I feel like you maybe didn't get a chance to test that out. I mean, which might be a blessing in disguise, first off, you know what I mean? Because you may not have been able to keep up with the demand of the training so lean and so low calorically intake. But lacrosse is kind of intense. So, okay.
So lacrosse, it was partially because I wanted to meet people. I knew a friend on the team, and also it was just going to be something else to add to my schedule that would keep my mind off everything else. I was feeling really alone, and I had lost my identity as a runner. And so I just needed to fill my time and space. So it was COVID year. We didn't have a whole lot of games or anything. It was mostly just training for when we would have the chance to play. So it was workouts and it was running, and that just continued. Just more and more. The second year I moved out of that place, I moved into a new house with 2 new roommates who I really enjoyed. But by that point, I had really gone down in weight. I look back and I just don't even know how I was still making it through school. It was by the skin of my teeth, honestly. I had reached out to therapists at this point.
Okay, so let's pause right there. What made you finally be like, I should talk to somebody?
Yeah, so
tell me about that moment that you're like, so I might need to find a therapist.
I just want to say to anyone out there who's struggling with extreme eating disorders, mental health, you don't realize until you're so malnourished what it does to brain chemistry. I had zero focus. I don't even know how much I took in, to be honest, for those couple of semesters of school. I wasn't able to sit and learn. I was only thinking about food the entire time, which is miserable. I was mean. I was sad, angry. I was not myself.
Yeah.
That's when I was thinking, like, I had some pretty scary thoughts, and that's when I started reaching out for help because I wasn't going to be able to make it through my school.
Yeah.
Well,
I love that. I mean, yes. And I love that you even were like, y'all just reach out for help. You know what I mean?
Do it.
That's like, because you're so right. Even someone who, like, I don't feel like I got that far, but I 100% tell everybody all the time, you in a highly stressed state, that is not your personality.
No.
That is actually not you. And it may sound scary, but you may not actually know your personality because it's been so heavily influenced by malnutrition in a high stress state that like you may think you're impatient, but maybe you're not impatient. Maybe you're just running on cortisol because your body, it consistently is trying to keep your blood sugar up. You know what I mean? Maybe you really don't like HIIT training, but you only like it because you're so stressed out that it's the only thing that can raise anything, like your like adrenaline, your norepinephrine, all like the feel good hormones, because you're already functioning at such a high state. You know what I mean? Maybe you actually do like sleeping in, but you haven't for the past like bazillion years because your cortisol is so high. You know what I mean? To the point of like, even like the smallest things of, there's so much about you that gets masked, it's with the K. I don't know. Anyways, and molded by the symptoms of being underfed.
Yeah, it's so true. I'm a completely different person now. But then I don't even know how I made it through some of that at this point. Trigger warning to anyone, but I was deeply anorexic. I had a team of therapists and nutritionists all kind of do an intervention with me. They wanted me to go into the hospital and go into treatment. And I just knew in my heart that wasn't going to be it for me. Like I needed to do it on my own terms.
Yeah.
I was so far deep that I had blinders up. I didn't know what was good for me, but I needed to be home with my family. So that was one good thing about COVID. I could be home and still continue to do school somehow. And it's a miracle I made it through, but I did. And I started listening to the HA podcast a year ago today, actually. I looked back and it was a year ago today. And that really propelled me. You guys started my journey of healing. It was really tough to get started. That initial step seems impossible, but once you do, you just kind of keep going.
Oh my gosh. Again, y'all, I knew her story was wild, but it is wild. So, okay. So were you able to do treatment, like outpatient treatment at home, the comforts of your own home? And so by the time you found us, I would imagine that like, had you reached a place where like they said that you were stable, but like you just didn't have your cycle, or like what kind of state were you in whenever you're like, about this period thing? You know what I mean? Just because, and it makes sense. Like whenever we're at a life and death like state, like no one's concerned about your period. And I wouldn't even say that that's the closest alligator to the boat. I wouldn't say that you're fine and you're healed. You know what I mean? But in order of importance, like we can wait, on that type of thing. So where did you come in?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. When I was speaking to the nutritionist who was kind of getting me started on the recovery meal plan, I said, can we call it HA recovery instead of anorexia recovery?
Yeah.
And she's just scratching her head. I don't really know what that is, but whatever you want to call it.
She's like, whatever, like, girl, like we can call it Bluebird in like the Mountain Hills recovery if you want. But I love that you bring that up, because I hope that, Danny be cranking out so much YouTube, right? She's just gifted. And, like the podcast we have going, the Instagram and all these things, you know what I mean? I hope it becomes like a household name where no one's like ashamed of it. It's like, no, like this is just my goal and my focus.
Yeah.
This is my goal. This is my focus. Like, you know what I mean? Because, like, I feel like there can sometimes be a lot of shame, and not saying that we shouldn't work to like destigmatize like eating disorders. I'm not saying that at all. You know what I mean? But like but sometimes it's really hard to get started on something that can be so shameful. Right. And it's just like, But at this point, let's just eat some food. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And you guys were that for me when I heard other people's stories and everyone sharing their beautiful, beautiful recovery stories about how their life is now, right? So many of them have children. So many of them have a job that they love. And that just became my why, right? Like, I was like, I need more than this out of life. Like, I have so much more that I can give, that I can experience, and I want to share it too. So here we go.
Oh my gosh, that's why. Okay, so
a huge thank you to Tempdrop for sponsoring this podcast. Tempdrop is a fertility awareness monitoring tool that I love. It's a wearable device which you can use instead of taking your temperature manually with a thermometer each morning. As you may know, we recommend the fertility awareness method both as you're going through recovery and 100,000% after you have gone through recovery as you move forward for the rest of your reproductive years. Tempdrop gives you everything you need to effortlessly track your fertility. You wear the Tempdrop sensor while you sleep for accurate basal body temperature readings without the stress of early morning wake-ups. I personally love and need this because with a toddler, my wake-up times are all over the place and the occasional sleep disruptions are making the use of an oral thermometer increasingly more difficult. Tempdrop's accompanying charting app enables you to track an array of symptoms alongside your BBT, including cervical mucus and OPKs, and even gives you sleep insights. Combine these fertility signs all in one place to identify your fertile window, confirm ovulation, plan for your period, or identify pregnancy. Whether you are trying to conceive or avoiding pregnancy, or you want to chart your fertility for health reasons like HA recovery to see where you're at in the process, Tempdrop makes fertility awareness accessible to all women, even if you don't have regular cycles or sleeping patterns. Track your ovulation in real time with Tempdrop. Get 10% off your order when you go to tempdrop.thehasociety.com and use the code HASociety at checkout. Please support this show by using our link and our discount code. Get your Tempdrop at the time of this recording and send us a screenshot of your purchase either via Instagram or you can email us, danny@thehasociety.com, having used our discount code HASociety. So it has to be in the screenshot to get your 10% off. When you send that to us, we will send you free access to our fertility awareness method for HA course. Again, that's tempdrop.thehasociety.com and use HA Society at the checkout to also get access to our course that we usually sell. And one more thing to sweeten the pot is that you can put this 10% code on top of any other pre-existing sales they're doing. So I know that they're doing regularly 15% off and 20% off sales. And so if you go specifically to tempdrop.thehasociety.com, it will apply an additional 10% off to whatever sale is going on. So you can't lose. You get the Tempdrop, you get probably multiple discounts, and you get our FAM course. So definitely check it out. And again, support our sponsors so that we can keep giving you this show for free. Thanks. You guys, we have partnered up with the incredible skincare app Lovely. So check this out. My particular skin issues, if you will, are that I have huge pores and I get fluid kind of build up in my face, and I've never really known how to process it out of my face or that there was anything I could do about it at all. I thought it was just bloating, and I can tell you that this is something that is really common in the HA Society and, well, we see in clients as well all of the time, and that's why I wanted to share this with you. The Lovely app helped me develop a custom face yoga and massage plan to tackle these fluid buildup issues and my enlarged pore issues. And I can't actually believe how well it worked. So when we finally found Lovely, an all-in-one holistic self-care app with face yoga being at its core, we jumped on the opportunity to partner up with them. In fact, it was a recovered HAer, so one of you who listened to the show, who reached out representing the brand. which means they represent our amazing listeners as well. So I thought that this is perfect. Now let me tell you about Lovely. Lovely, spelled Luvly, lets you get personalized face yoga and skincare programs tailored to your needs and goals. They help you learn facial massages and gua sha massages to help reduce tension, promote blood flow, and boost collagen production. They let you explore anti-stress tools such as breathing and mindfulness exercises to improve your mental health and well-being. So if you're not already using a mental health app, this is an all-in-one for you. And they let you enjoy personalized meal ideas for healthy and glowing skin based on your dietary preferences. That's awesome. When I tried out Lovely for the first time, I was blown away. I felt like I was doing a full-on skin routine that involved 0 products being used on my face other than my favorite moisturizer. I saw a difference in my skin tone and even the elasticity in my face. I had dealt with the drainage and blotchiness issues completely, and I had no idea that I could even deal with that. I had this whole story about my skin, and I just realized in the end that all I needed to do was get on top of a face yoga routine. So the reason I love this app for you is because it's a way for you to create a routine in your life and still have a quote unquote workout that is actually serving you in any season of your life. So if you're still learning how to relax after a long day with a different approach to your previous stress relief strategies, you know who you are. There's nothing quite like winding down with a relaxing evening routine. And what better way to look after yourself than with Lovely's face yoga and mindful skincare routine? It's my current mommy alone time situation. So before you rush to try this app, here's something really cool. You don't just log in and start doing workouts for your face. They have created a quick quiz just for listeners of the HA podcast that will build a specific plan just for you based on your specific skin challenges and goals. So this is the best part. When you do the quiz, it doesn't take very long. You just answer a bunch of questions about your skin and statements you believe are true about your skin, and it will generate a plan for you with a code that you can then apply to the app that will not only load it into the app for you, but also provide 50% off of your membership. So this is just for the listeners of the HA podcast. To find the quiz, go to lovely.thehasociety.com. This customized plan feature has made my specific skin goals improve so much, so the quiz is non-negotiable. And remember, do the quiz anyways if you want the 50% off of the plan and the whole app. It's worth it. It is key to your skin success. So unleash your inner beauty and nurture your beauty and confidence from within, y'all. Take a moment for your me time and enjoy your beauty journey during a time where your body composition goals are not able to be your number one baby. So take the quiz, get the discount, go to lovely, lovely.thehasociety.com. That's lovely.thehasociety.com.
All the details. Yeah. So it seems like you kind of started it with your nutritionist, which is excellent. Did she know about HA, or was she like, I have no idea, I'm just here to help you eat more?
Oh yeah, she didn't know about HA. She was more all about me gaining weight, which to me just kind of put me off more. I ended up only working with her for a short period of time because I kind of needed to do it my own way. It was still a structured meal plan. It was still calorie counting, and that wasn't getting me anywhere. So eventually I just put that aside, and I was looking in my fridge. I had extreme hunger at that point. It hit as soon as I started eating anything, which was peanut butter at the time. I relate to you in that way.
Oh, totally. I was just telling that to somebody, some people are like, don't binge on peanut. I'm like, look here, I have 4 peanut butter jars in my house now, and I don't give it any time of day just because I ate so much peanut butter in the beginning of my journey that I think I'm pretty much good for the rest of my life, but it doesn't have a hold on me now. And I also don't eat low fat anymore. Right. So it just doesn't allure me. But if someone would have told me that I can't have peanut butter, or that I needed to be restrictive around peanut butter, it would have made me even more like, you know what I mean? I think like most of us, we're all pretty like bullheaded. Like, yes, don't tell me to do that. And I'm going to want to do it. And then like do it the fastest and do it the best. You know what I mean? Okay. So basically you were like, okay, fridge, what do you got for me? Like, we're going to do this.
Yeah, I just tried to start really slow. I thought, oh, I'll ease into this, we'll do a little reverse diet, whatever. All those thoughts came to mind. So I was like, sure, I'll start with some peanut butter on a banana, the very minimal. And as soon as I started feeding my body again, even just a small amount, the extreme hunger, it's something indescribable. If anyone has experienced it, if you know,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I was that person standing with the fridge open for honestly hours at some point, like just ravenous. It was wild. I couldn't go out because I just needed to buy food. And at the same time, a piece of my brain was pulling me the other direction that was saying, like, don't eat, right? It was still that eating disorder telling me don't, but I needed it so bad that I just had to. So I started feeding it everything that I wanted. And I just gave in, and I did have shame at the beginning for sure. And I had to fight really, really hard to be able to do it. I had a lot of support again from my family and a therapist, which I'm really grateful for. But yeah, I just started eating all the things, mostly peanut butter, mostly like high carb stuff. And slowly but surely I started gaining weight.
Yeah, because sometimes we can be in such a deficit that it actually takes a lot of food to like break that ability to, you know what I mean? Just because you're in such a deficit. Now, you don't have to answer this at all, but you know that we're super open. But how much weight do you think that you had lost? And mind you, this is a PSA for everybody. I got the mic really close to me now because I'm super serious. HA can happen to anybody at any weight, at any caloric intake. I will scream this from the rooftop. I was like 145 eating 1,800 calories, and I developed HA. So you don't need to be eating 600, but I'm just saying. So if like you feel open, how much weight do you think that you lost during your initial, like, you know what I mean? Just because I feel like it helps, the more ranges that we have, the more people see themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because I was someone who only air quotes, y'all, 30 pounds. And that was enough to send me, right? And so like when I heard more extreme stories, I was like, that's not me. That I don't have HA. It can't possibly be. They're like there's plenty of people who lose 30 pounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? But like everybody's body is actually different.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I was already starting at, for myself, obviously a pretty low weight. And I would say it was around 60 pounds that I lost from there. So it was very significant. And so I had a lot to make back up for. Plus some for sure, which I didn't expect at the beginning, but everybody has different bodies. Everyone has different needs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So with like your gaining process, and again, you'd be like, Ashley, you're triggering me. You know what I mean? But like, do you feel like it was a rapid weight gain? Just because I know a lot of people, get really worried. And as a coach, like I see it in both ways, but for you, do you feel like it was, first off, we always think it's rapid. No matter who you are, you're going to feel like it's rapid. Okay. Like you're just going to feel like it. You know what I mean? Like I have someone who gained 7 pounds. They're like, it happened so fast. I was like, yes, I also gained, but like my personal journey, like I gained 30 pounds in 1 month. Right. And I'm like, you want to talk about fast, you know what I mean? So everybody's is going to feel fast, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to hear more about your experience.
So at the very start, I think it took quite a bit to get the needle moving. So that took a while. I'd say more than a month at the beginning to gain anything.
Yeah.
And that was at the point when I was eating a lot. And then from there, it was pretty steady. It became like 5 pounds a week. It was picking up for sure. Probably a couple weeks might have gained even more than that at a time. So yeah, I would say it's been less than a year that I gained those 60 pounds plus.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you shared that too, just because, I have one person who she wound up gaining 100 pounds. Like she needed to gain and you're like, people are like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? And like, I feel like even sometimes that can bring up a lot of shame, but if you're so far under, and if that's what your body needs, I really feel like, you know, and you're like, I'm sure they'll be like, I can't believe she agrees with that. And you know what? I do. And I'm not apologetic about it, because some people truly do need to. And like, it was trying to remain small and restrict that got them in this place. And while like, you know, like if someone would have told me, oh my gosh, Ashley, you gained 40 pounds, like that's too much. Like you've overdone it. I would have been like, oh my gosh, did I do it wrong just because I didn't fit the normal script of like 10 pounds or like 15 pounds? Not saying that those aren't hard, because it is for like anybody, it doesn't matter. It's hard, but like no one really likes to talk about the like 40 and plus pounds or the 60 and plus pounds, because sometimes there's still shame around it, but it's like, but the more people share that type of experience, it's like, no, like you're not broken, you're not crazy, and your body knows exactly what it's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, in order for those feelings of hunger and just irritability and all of those horrible feelings of coldness, all of these things that were just not going right for me, I just started to know that until I meet where my own body needs to be, none of that is going to go away and I'll be stuck here. So there was just a very significant turning point, closer to the end of the weight gain, I would say, where it's just like, I don't like, it's got to be that way or else I'm going to be right here for the rest of time.
Yes.
So it just becomes a point where you have to decide, where do you want to be in a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, and just kind of find your why. I know it might sound silly, but finding your why, what is it that's going to motivate you? I just want to share that I'm an occupational therapist. So for me, I work with kids. I'm a pediatric therapist. And I was working with moms and I was working with babies. And for me, it was like, how am I going to continue to do my job and potentially have a family like the ones that I'm seeing every day if I don't make some changes? So that was my why. But just really digging deep, do some journaling, do whatever you want to do to figure out where you want to be and how you're going to get there.
Yeah. So what is one thing that like, you know, like you were like, I was so afraid to do, and then I got to the other side and I realized like I didn't die from that experience. Like, that's what I say to all my coaching clients. I was like, look, you did it. Like, we're here. And like, you didn't die. Because for me, it literally felt like I can't even imagine myself 30 pounds heavier. Like I would just shut down. I was like, I can't imagine my life that way. I can't imagine going quote unquote back. You know what I mean? And it would just paralyze me into staying stuck. And then once I did it, and once I had the like worst case scenario experience, which was just seeing a group of people that I had seen maybe like 6 months prior and being like 30 to 40 pounds heavier. Oh my gosh. Like, you know, trust me, I threw the biggest fit known to mankind trying to get on that plane and going there. But then when I came back, I was like, I didn't die. Yeah, it was uncomfortable and I had to grit my teeth a little bit, but like, I'm on the other side. And like, I'm okay now. Like, I'm actually okay. Like I survived the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thanks for sharing. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. So is there a moment for you where you're like, I was so afraid of this moment. And then I got there and I realized, okay, it sucked maybe, but I'm here.
Yes, for sure. So for me, it was the exercise. I had been doing exercise so much. And then when I got to my lowest and I had to start eating and recovering, anything that I ate wasn't going to do anything if I continued at that point. So I think it was one of your podcasts actually that I listened to that was like, just do a year without exercise.
Yeah.
Freelance, see what it does for you. And I was like, there's no way. There's just no way I can give up exercise. Like, that's ridiculous. So
who does that?
I know.
That crazy woman on there is suggesting I do something psychotic.
Yes,
who does that?
That is how I felt. So, one day I'm like, I'm going to sleep in today. It was the first day in years that I allowed myself to sleep in. And I was like, well, this is kind of nice. I had thoughts through the day where I was like, I should probably go do something, right? Those impulsive feelings, but I did it. So it started with one day, and then I continued to exercise here and there, slowly but gradually got down to 0. So it was almost a year that I did basically 0 exercise, which is so wild for me to even say out loud. But yeah, it took that for me. I mean, I worked myself to the ground for so many years that my body, that's what it needed.
Absolutely. So I find that I'm always still healing. Like I'm never like, and then I'm perfectly healed, guys. So like, be perfect afterwards. Be perfect, be well and be perfect. You know what I mean? And I think I'm always like discovering, and it's not in like a bad, shameful way. It's like, oh, look at that thought. I don't think I align with it so much anymore. You know what I mean? Or just habits. Like I was just talking with somebody of, I didn't realize that I had been avoiding fresh squeezed orange juice just because in my dieting days, I was just like water only, or I'm going to make room for alcohol, but I'm not going to waste my calories on like liquid calories. Like, oh my gosh. Right. So, and then for so many years, I would get the donut, but never the fresh squeezed orange juice. Cause how dare you have both. Right. Anyways, I was at this donut shop and I think I had already eaten and I was like really stuffed, but I wanted to take my friends there because they were visiting. And I was like, you know what I actually really want? I want some of this fresh squeezed orange juice. And I had it. And I about like could have sold it door to door because I loved it. I was so excited about it. And I'm like, how did I not know that it was so delicious? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been recovered for like 2 years, like nuggies too. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why is this the first time I've had fresh squeezed orange juice? And I realized that it was a blind spot. It didn't keep me from recovering, but there's always like these little small moments where I'm like, oh, I should probably explore that. So now that you've like recovered, you know what I mean? What is the most recent moment that you've maybe had where you're like, huh, you're still there. Let's just kind of like do something about that. You know what I mean?
Yes. So stuff coming to mind for sure. It was donuts for me, donuts and brownies. So those were my 2. And until recently, I still was hung up on these 2 desserts. Just a little shout out to Sarah McAllister. She's an HA Society member, but her and I have been support buddies through all of this. So
she's so wonderful.
She's the best.
So wonderful. Oh my gosh.
I know. So we share photos back and forth. We started sharing photos back and forth of like our food and our desserts. So I started sharing like my donuts and my brownies, and she kind of pushed me to try some new things too. So I think for me, it was those items, but now I enjoy them all the time and I got through it. And oh my gosh, love a good donut.
Yeah. You're like, how did I ever leave you?
I know. And I just love that I can be spontaneous. My boyfriend and I were walking around the mall the other day, and he's like, want to get a donut? And before I would have never, right? Like if it wasn't in the plan, I wasn't having it. But we walked by, they looked amazing. And of course I was like, yeah, sure. And then I was thinking, look at me go. This is this girl.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And shout out to all the family members that stick with us, right? Like we had like a recent community call and I was like, bless Blake. That's my husband. I was like, I think I have taken him through like 14 different diets, guys.
Yes.
And like he's like, so what are we doing this week? What are we not doing? Like, who are we against now? You know what I mean? Like, okay. So right now, like we're keto, you know what I mean? And so thankfully, like, but shout out to like all the people who stick with us through this crazy time and love us through it. It just sounds like you had such an amazing support system at home. So shout out to your parents and family.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I definitely got some comments about my weight gain from certain family members, which is always really tough too. But for the most part, yeah. Find the people who are there for you truly and who support you. And those are the ones that you want to keep around.
Absolutely. All right. Is there one last piece of advice or just something for anybody that's going through their journey right now? I mean, I feel like you just shared an epic amount of wisdom and like, guys, I did it and you could do it too. But if there's anything that you wanted to share.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. For anyone out there who's feeling like they can't, who's down on themselves, it might feel impossible in this moment, but trust me, you can do it. You've probably heard it 1,000 times, but you're going to get through it. And don't be afraid to reach out to your support system, to reach out for help. Yeah, I'm here in the DMs too if anyone has any more questions for me, but I do have one last little tip that I kind of had to think about when I was kind of at the end of, coming up to my first period. For food wise, I kind of started thinking about my body being like a cup. There's cups inside that need to be filled in terms of nutrients, in terms of fuel. The biggest one arguably is your calories.
Yeah.
And then there's other smaller cups that are for like protein and whatever, carbs, all the different things. And so I just kind of had to start telling myself, until all those cups are full, it's not going to happen for you. So the time I was eating, I'm like, I'm filling the cups. Just keep filling it. And then eventually you're going to hit the top. But until you do that, it's just not going to move. So keep going, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that is such a true thing. I feel like HA is the first time that we've ever encountered a firm boundary that will not budge.
Yeah.
Until energy demands are met, right? Okay. Well, clearly I could chat forever, but thank you so much, y'all. She is in the DMs, and like you can share your Instagram handle or whatever you feel comfortable with. Like we'll tag in all the things, but thank you so much.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Grassland Nutrition beef liver capsules. Did you know that in terms of nutrient density, beef liver actually blows vegetables and fruits out of the water? If you're a client of mine, you have already been instructed to eat beef liver either fresh or in capsule form. I recommend it for anyone and everyone who is, of course, dealing with amenorrhea and fertility challenges out there, but I may even recommend it for just everyone in general. Get your husbands on it, get your partners on it. If you have a history of HA and add on top of that maybe a history of the pill, maybe you've been pregnant before, through treatments or other, your body's been through anything, you're absolutely 100% dealing with a nutrient deficiency of some kind. And while it's true that testing is going to be the best way to understand those exact deficiencies, Eating nutrient-dense, real food is going to be one of the most important next steps that you take with or without testing. So I've been using and recommending Grassland Nutrition beef liver capsules for years now. And the capsule form makes it so easy to get your liver in every day. And I appreciate the transparency of this product in particular above others. So in case you're wondering, it's completely natural. This is freeze-dried beef liver in capsules. It's organic, it's made from Australian beef, and my favorite of their products is the liver with kelp because of the iodine from the kelp, which is important for overall thyroid function, which is often low in women with underperforming hormones. So rather than eat seaweed snacks every day, I get to take this beef liver with the kelp for my iodine. So if you're recovering or working on a fertility journey right now, do not skimp the nutrient-rich source of beef liver. Get 10% off your order with the HA Society and support your favorite podcast along the way. They ship to most countries, so you should be covered. Just go to grasslandnutrition.net and use HA Society, just HA Society, at the checkout for the 10% off. That's grasslandnutrition.net with the code HA Society. Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women